Hey guys, Gene here. I see a lot of macro errors in the people I coach and in my own games, even in Ascendant and Eternus lobbies. This video is the first of a 3-part series on how to pilot a game of Deadlock. The next 2 videos will cover how to play the mid and late game. This video in particular is an updated version of my previous video talking about how to win the laning phase. A lot has changed and the meta is different. Deadlock is still in an early alpha that regularly gets patches that fundamentally shake up the meta, so hopefully with these set of videos, even if the meta changes, you can still apply the core principles and lessons into your future games in any rank. The early game of Deadlock consists of the laning phase where you're assigned one of the 3 lanes, yellow, blue, or green, with a lane partner against 2 other players. This stage of the game is important because it sets you up for the rest of the game. When you start a game of Deadlock, before you even step foot into the lane, the first thing you should be doing is assessing your lane matchup. Evaluate the lane pressure of the 4 heroes in your lane, including yourself. Every hero has a certain level of early game strength that dictates how you should play the lane and what items to build. There's also certain synergies and matchups along with pressure that you need to consider. Here's a tier list for how much pressure certain heroes have in the laning phase right now. Keep in mind that these rankings can easily change with balance patches, so depending on when you watch this, it will be outdated. For example, Abram's laning was a lot better when he could reliably heavy melee after shoulder charge, but now he can only guarantee a heavy melee after having tier 2 charge or buying duration extender. Some heroes synergize well together to make deadly combos that increase their lane pressure. For example, a Warden's Cage is not a scary ability if you have full stamina to escape. But in combination with Vindicta's Stake, it becomes very easy to die to a Vindicta Warden lane if you get staked by Vindicta. There's also certain matchups that determine which side has an advantage in lane. For example, an Abrams and Mo and Krill will destroy a lane against a Pocket and Lash because they will out-heal their burst damage and dive them under their tower. If the Abrams and Mo were against a Vindicta Grey Talon, then they will be at a disadvantage, because Vindicta and Grey Talon have high sustained damage and poke that will stick onto them, and Vindicta Grey Talon operate at long ranges that's hard for Abrams and Mo and Krill to interact with them. After assessing lane pressure, you should have an idea of how to play the lane. There are generally 3 categories on how you should approach the lane. There's stomp lanes where you have more pressure than the enemy. This is usually the case against weak laners like Lash, Haze, Dynamo, Wraith, and Ivy. Against heroes with less pressure than you should play more aggressively and push your advantage since they have limited tools to fight back early. You can afford to delay defensive items and build damage items earlier to further push your advantage. Then there's stall lanes where you have less pressure than the enemy. This is usually the case against strong laners like Mirage, Sinclair, Vindicta, Grey Talon, and Bebop. Against heroes with strong early lane pressure, you want to play safer and position behind cover. Your goal is to stall the lane, not necessarily win it, so you should focus on clearing waves quickly while minimizing poke until help comes or until the laning phase is over. And don't be afraid to fall back and give up your Guardian early if it's about to fall. Enemies can quickly dive you after your Guardian falls, so don't try to defend a Guardian that's at death's door. Focus on securing and denying waves and expect to be constantly poked, so buying regen items such as Healing Right, Restorative Shot, and Melee Lifesteal is crucial. If you think the lane is doomed from the start, ask for a lane swap at the start or from 6 minutes in when boosts are up. Then there's stalemate lanes where neither side has the advantage when it comes to lane pressure. This can be because both sides are evenly matched, both sides don't do much without ults up, like Wraith Haze versus 7 Pocket. There's certain abilities that negate kill pressure like Viscous Cube, Kelvin's Dome, or any AoE healing ability. And certain ults or abilities that you have to hold to counter another one, like if you're playing Lash and you're against Haze or Paradox. You can't ult because you'll get swapped or slept, but that means they also can't use Swap or Sleep Dagger freely. These kinds of lanes are usually won by whoever from the outside rotates to them first. If nothing is happening in your lane, you can do boxes after clearing your wave. You can also gank other lanes once boosts are available at 6 minutes. Let's say I'm playing Paradox and I'm paired with Lady Geist. Generally, I can be more aggressive than usual since Geist has a strong early game and can follow up on my damage. But if I'm laning with a Dynamo, it's better to play passively. I would focus on safely clearing waves under cover while waiting for our ults to come up before engaging in a fight. Dynamo can stall out the lane with his heal, and can save you with his TP and knockup if enemies try to dive you. Once we have ults up, it's good to bait them into poking us at our Guardian line, and then swap them into our Guardian, or use Black Hole, which should result in us winning the fight. Having a good build sets you up for success. If you're playing a bad build, your mechanics don't matter, because your build is failing you from the start. To make sure you're using a good build, I recommend only sticking to the top page of builds in the build page. Use builds that are listed as top daily or weekly, and use builds from known high rank streamers like Deathy, Hydration, Play With Me, and Zanya. If you're still not sure, then you can join the Deadlock Discord and ask in one of the hero channels if the build you're using sucks or not. Flowcharting your builds is fine when learning a hero or the item system, but if you want to improve, you need to think about what items you need in the moment and what items you need in the future, not just blindly following a build. Every game is different, so you shouldn't be buying the exact same items in the exact same order every game. Many items are situational, and identifying when to use them can swing fights in your favor. You should start thinking about counter building at the beginning of the game. Look at the enemy's comp and plan what utility or defensive items you might need later on. Pick characters like Paradox and Holiday, and supports like Dynamo and Kelvin often have extra slots in their build that they can use to counter build. Frontliners like Abrams and Calico, and carries like Yamato and Seven tend to not have enough slots to buy team utility in their builds, so it's not usually their job to counter build. Against mobile heroes like Lash, Pocket, Mirage, Eternus, and Calico, slowing Hex is a great pickup. Against high HP and healing heavy comps like Abrams, Shiv, Mowing Krill, or Kelvin, go for Decay, Toxic Bullets, or Healbane. Buy Knockdown against flying heroes like Grey Talon, Vindicta, and Lash, or against heroes with long channeled ults like Haze, Bebop, Seven, McGinnis, or Ivy. Against comps of a lot of high fire rate enemies like Haze, Viper, Mirage, or Infernus, consider buying Suppressor, Return Fire, Disarming Hex, and later on, Curse. Against heroes with impactful teamfight ultimates like Dynamo, Pocket, Yamato, or Lash, Silence Wave or Curse is a great pickup. Debuff Remover is a strong defensive item versus heroes like Pocket, Holiday, Vindicta, Infernus, and Mowing Krill. Warp Zone can help you escape CC and heavy burst damage from heroes like Lash, Bebop, or Paradox. Buying a tier 2 green item early in lane is an excellent way to neutralize lanes with a lot of poke or kill threat. Spirit and weapon shielding are solid answers to early dive and burst. Reactive barrier is incredible in the high CC lanes, though note it doesn't proc on knockups, slows, disarms, or Paradox's Carbine. Consider purchasing reactive barrier if you're laning against 2 heroes who can proc it, like Lash, Wraith, Abrams, Bebop, Vindicta, Holiday, Paradox, Mowing Krill, Mirage, Sinclair, and Haze. Healing Booster is great if your hero has early healing like Abrams, Kelvin, or Mowing Krill. Restorative Locket is useful against heroes with charge abilities or low cooldowns like Lady Geist, Holiday, Grey Talon, Mirage, Wraith, and Shiv. There are generally 5 methods to gain advantage in lane. There's poking the enemy to secure a health advantage, securing and denying more orbs than the enemy to secure a soul advantage, getting counter items to alleviate enemy aggression or disable enemy strengths, grabbing boxes and jungle in between waves during downtime to secure a small soul advantage, and freezing the wave to create advantageous positions for you and disadvantageous positions for the enemy. I'll explain how to do these methods later in the video. If you feel like you've learned something, consider subscribing. I try to make high quality educational content that can benefit someone from any rank, but they do take a while to make. Now we're in lane and have a good idea on how aggressive or passive we should play in lane and what items we're thinking about buying this game. In general, you want to clear the wave faster than your opponent because you'll get wave priority. With wave priority, you can get free damage into the enemy while they're busy clearing troopers or doing something else faster than the enemy, like buying items, doing boxes, clearing a jungle camp, or ganking another lane. Make sure to secure soul orbs after killing troopers as they're your main source of income. Denying the enemy soul orbs is a great way to secure a soul advantage in lane, but this can be difficult as soul orbs are heavily secure advantage. You should still try to deny enemy soul orbs in the beginning, especially if you have low ping or a fast reaction time. But if the enemy is consistently securing their orbs, you can focus your efforts elsewhere. The laning phase is a constant minigame where you're juggling clearing waves, soul orb collection, poke, and dodging with the enemy. Remember to play with your lane partner to lessen the burden of these jobs on yourself. Your lane partner can help you clear from different angles, follow up on poke, or peel for you in fights. Communication is key. Don't let your lane partner take a 2v1 and die because you left to grab a buff without telling them. Both of you should always be on the same page. When a wave shoves into the enemy guardian, look to poke the enemy as much as possible while avoiding guardian aggro. Guardians early on do a ton of damage, and you don't do any meaningful damage to the guardian without any items. Wait until you have some damage items before shooting the guardian. Abilities in Deadlock have no mana cost, and troopers easily die in a half or full magazine, so whenever your abilities are off cooldown, you should be looking to poke the enemy. Once you reach 800 souls, buy an item. It's easy to forget if you're constantly fighting under their guardian, but you'll get punished if they have more items than you. In general, your build in the laning phase is mostly composed of tier 1 and tier 2 items, so if you have more than 1600 souls, you should buy an item. There are some exceptions to this rule. In the new item system, filling your slots has been less valuable compared to saving up for strong tier 3 and tier 4 items. There's been metas in the past where you'd rush items like Headhunter and Cultist Sacrifice because they were strong standalone items that were discounted because they built from tier 1 items. If you're low in lane, don't hesitate to buy one or more region items. By buying region items, you're delaying your build, but it's worth it because you get to farm more waves without dying and you don't give the enemy free souls from kills. Monster rounds is a strong choice if you're stuck under your guardian clearing waves, and it can help you push the enemy guardian and clear camps faster, helping you rotate and be more active in the map. The heal creep is another important thing to keep track of in the laning phase. It heals you 40 HP every 5 seconds, so if you're poked out, you should always go to it as soon as it drops. When clearing waves, aim to eliminate the enemy's heal creep first and protect yours, so that if you get wave priority, the heal creep can heal you while you poke the enemy and damage their guardian. If the enemies are low in lane and you're relatively healthy, remember that you can parry guardians to temporarily disable them so that you can chase for a kill. If you find yourself getting denied a lot, or low on ammo, you can fully secure trooper's souls by killing them with a melee, but only do so when you know it's safe because it's easy for the enemy to poke you while you're locked into the melee animation. Freezing the wave used to be a great way to farm safely under your defenses, or to force enemies to go out of position in order to grab their wave, but now you can't parry troopers anymore, so it pretty much doesn't exist now. In order to freeze a wave now, you need to tank the wave of your body, which isn't a viable strategy. I'm leaving this here because if Valve wants to add freezing back into the game, it's an important high-level aspect of wave management that can be used to win your lane. Always use cover when possible to minimize poke, especially under your guardian. When clearing waves under enemy fire, here are some generally safe spots for cover. When poking enemies who are clearing waves under tower, make sure to utilize these sightlines and make it harder for the enemy to hide from your poke. The mid lane has really bad terrain for cover, so make sure to abuse these sightlines in your games. At 2 minutes breakable spawn. These are boxes and golden statues which give you souls and stats respectively. They respawn every 3 minutes after being broken. These are good mini objectives to get periodically throughout the lane, and whenever there is downtime in lane where nothing is happening, usually after clearing wave or buying an item from the shop. These are located all throughout the map. As you play more games, you'll memorize their locations. I made a video about the ones that are easy to grab during the early game if you want to learn more about them. At 5 minutes, bridge buff spawn. These are powerful buffs in the early game that you want to secure for your team. The quickest way to get these are from using these bounce pads. It's a good habit to be 10 seconds early to the buff before everyone hears a buff announcement sound so you don't unexpectedly lose a buff or fight an engagement that you didn't want to take. After securing a buff, you have the option to return to your lane, gank the adjacent lane, or do some boxes on top of the buildings. At 6 minutes and 5 seconds, everyone's first zipline boost spawns. This means you can boost back to base to recover your HP without missing a wave, or you can use this boost to gank other lanes. If you took a fight in your lane at this time and won it, be wary, because the enemy will respawn fast and boost onto you and kill you while you're still recovering from the previous fight. Ganking becomes a real possibility at this point of the game, so it's a good idea to call missing if someone hasn't been in your lane for a long time. At 8 minutes, tier 3 camps spawn. These are hard to kill for most heroes. You shouldn't be doing these camps unless you're playing a carry hero with a good jungle clear like Wraith or 7. The cultist sacrifice item allows you to instantly eat a jungle monster, so it's a good idea to use these in tier 3 jungle monsters that are in the neutral or enemy side of the map. Sinner Sacrifice also spawns at this time. They give you souls and stats, and to claim them, you need to time your heavy melee so it hits the machine while all the white orbs are flickering. If you destroy your enemy's guardian before they destroy yours, it's a good idea to push the wave, then take their nearby jungle camps. It's also good for one person to leave the lane and help other lanes to win them even faster. This is usually done by heroes that don't need a lot of souls to be effective, and want to gank and roam a lot after the laning phase like Holiday, Kelvin, and Ivy. The other laner should anchor the lane and use the solo farm to become a massive threat later into the game. This is usually done by heroes that are weak early game or need a lot of souls to become online. These are heroes like Wraith, 7, Haze, and Eternus. If you're alone defending a guardian and multiple people show up to push your lane, you should ask your team to help you defend the guardian. If no one can rotate in time to defend, back off and let them take the guardian. It's not worth giving up your life to defend a guardian when you're outnumbered. Similarly, if you're losing your lane and lost your guardian, it can be a good idea for one person to rotate and help win another lane 3v2. And if the opponent matches your rotation, go to another lane and keep abusing numbers advantage to try to make up the difference of the lost lane elsewhere. At 10 minutes, bridge buffs, the sword urn, and mid boss spawns. I'll go over how to approach these objectives in the next video. The laning phase in early game is effectively over around 10 minutes or when the first guardian falls in lane, so you should expect people to abandon their lane assignments and to send multiple people to gank a lane or take an objective. That's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next one and I'll see you guys later.